The Last Voyage of the Demeter stars Corey Hawkins, Aisling Franciosi, David Dasmalchian, Liam Cunningham, and Javier Botet as a legendary Dracula, directed by Andre Overdal. And it is about the crew of the merchant ship Demeter setting sail from Carapithia to London to deliver a cargo of unmarked wooden crates. However, they soon discover that they're not alone as Dracula's unholy presence turns the trip into a nightmarish fight for survival. I'm a huge fan of vampire movies when done right. More so the dark, monstrous, feral type of vampires as opposed to the sparkly kind. Not that there's anything wrong with sparkly vampires, it's just my preference is geared more towards the more sinister and more menacing portrayal of vampires. I feel that they're really underrepresented as the horror genre has become a bit oversaturated with zombie movies. Unfortunately, I feel that this movie won't have the strongest impact in the demand for more vampire movies, as I found it to be quite boring. The story is a bit repetitive in that other than the vampire attacks, we don't see much else happening. We get introduced to the characters, the story meanders on for a bit, vampire attack, followed by characters discussing what the hell is happening, followed by another vampire attack, followed by more characters discussion, and so forth. And the movie isn't all that, but it feels that way, at least for me. And if the vampire attacks were entertaining, that would be one thing, but I found them to be quite tame and lackluster. I don't mind that the lighting was very dark and murky because vampire, but the scares were awfully cliche, and I'm talking about as cliche as you can get in regards to horror movies, where like the character is on the left side of the frame, it's really dark, lightning strikes in the background, and in the flash you see the silhouette of the monster, and the character senses its presence. He turns around to see nothing there, turns back around, and the monster's in its face. I'm talking about that level of cliche, and I wouldn't have minded that so much either if the gore really went for it. But I felt that they really held back despite the movie being rated R. When it comes to gore, I'm a bit of a gore hound myself, but when it comes to gore in horror movies, I think that the gore needs to sort of enhance and augment the story. The story comes first, and the gore adds to that. You know, I don't like gore for gore's sake. But if if the story's not there and the scares are not quite there, then I think that the gore should really go for it. So I think that that was a missed opportunity. And as for Dracula's look, he looked a bit underwhelming. I do appreciate that they went the practical route and using makeup and prosthetics instead of CGI. At first I thought it was CGI, but later found out it was a real person, Javier Botet, playing him, which I commend the filmmakers for. Practical is always better, always better, regardless how skilled and advanced we get in terms of special effects. Having said that, the design wasn't very formidable and instill fear. It kind of just looked like Gollum's big brother with wings. So I kind of found that a little disappointing. The characters I felt were thinly constructed and relatively uninteresting, save for the main character. You know, I didn't really care if any of them lived or died, which took away from the tension. You know, if you're invested in the characters, and when they're put in precarious situations, you're on the edge of your seat because you care about them. And when something did happen to the characters in this movie, it just didn't emotionally resonate with me. Really, there was only one relationship that struck a chord with me, but the rest of the characters felt very throwaway, despite some very good performances from Corey Hawkins and David Dasmalchian. And I can listen to Liam Cunningham narrate a captain's log all day, every day. So yeah, overall I felt that the movie was flat, uninspired, and forgettable. Not to say that it was a terrible movie. There were some redeeming qualities to it. The cinematography, which at first I wasn't a big fan of, because 90% of the movie were these super tight close-up shots that made the movie feel very claustrophobic. But then I realized that that was most likely the intention, because it's a movie about people trapped on a ship being terrorized by a vampire. So I grew to appreciate it, because it did reach the desired effect. I felt as if I couldn't breathe throughout the whole movie. So yeah, overall, the movie, even though the cinematography was on point and the performances were really good, I just found the movie a bit forgettable, a bit tedious. If you're not a big horror movie fan, I think you'll find some enjoyment out of it. But if you're someone like me who's a die-hard horror junkie, who's been desensitized to all things that go bump in the night, you're gonna need something that packs a little bit more of a punch. So yeah, I give it a 5 out of 10. And if you like this review, please like my video, subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. Derek out.